Let me start with you, if I could, Joe, because this really goes back to 2007, the original partnership. What was LiUNA thinking of, and what were you looking for when you decided to begin this partnership?
At that time, there was a lot of discussions about a lot of the work going through land of First Nations, and it dawned on us after hearing so much noise out there about the fact that, quite frankly, Canadians are wearing a blemish. This is a wonderful country, Canada, a wonderful, wonderful country, but we have this blemish, and the blemish is that we did not treat our First Nations well. And we thought, since a lot of the work is going to be coming out, isn't this an opportunity for a win-win situation to start to look at erasing the past with something really positive? And we thought training young Aboriginal youth would be a real plus. And it's a plus for us as an organization because LiUNA does need new people. We need to replenish the workforce, a workforce that is retiring, a workforce that was, quite frankly, based on a lot of immigrants that came to Canada in post-war. And so this was a great opportunity to find a win-win situation and, quite frankly, erase some of those blemishes of the past.
And Phil Fontaine, would you say that the process is working, or does it still have work to do?
Well, when we entered into this arrangement with Joe and LiUNA, we saw this as a real opportunity, as Joe indicated, win-win. We have the fastest growing population in Canada, 3.5% national average, or higher, I should say, and we have a very young population, growing population. 50% of our population is under the age of 25. So we have a significant pool of workers, but we understood that to make that an opportunity, we had to partner with someone that had experience in training and ensuring that the jobs that were out there could be filled. And clearly, we had the kind of resource that LiUNA was looking for, and we thought that it made all sense in the world to partner with someone that had the kind of experience that LiUNA had.
So you started off in 2007, and then in 2015, LiUNA went to an Indigenous committee as well. So explain, how does that work?
Well, we were making progress. As an organization, we were working with a number of Indigenous communities across the country, from British Columbia right through to Labrador, where we have a very large energy project going on up there. And so we were making some progress, but quite frankly, we weren't satisfied. We weren't satisfied with the numbers that we were putting through our training centers. And quite frankly, we weren't that happy with the retention rate. So, for every 10 Indigenous young people we brought into our training centers, maybe we were retaining 1 or 2. That wasn't good enough. And so what we thought is, look, we better get a committee together here that has some teeth, if I can put it that way. And of course, we went to our good friend Phil, if he would co-chair the committee with me. And we brought a number of the stakeholders around the table and says, what do we need to do to improve our retention rate, number one, to keep more of these young workers working, first of all, and keep them as members, of course, of LiUNA. And a number of ideas have surfaced and are evolving all the time. And we're doing much better. Our retention rate has gone up. And as I mentioned in one of the introductions I made of the Minister of the Environment, I highlighted one of the projects with Enbridge, which Enbridge was actually surprised at the retention rate and surprised at the quality of workers. And so what we took was a group of young people from the Six Nations, as an example, And they're all working right now. They're all working with Enbridge. We have a number of them that we trained that are working with one of our residential contractors that are doing work in the Caledonia area, which is very close. I shouldn't say close. It is part of the Six Nations. And so we have made some substantial progress in a very short period of time. Very, very happy with that. We need a lot more work to do. I mean, we're not even close to being done. But it's a good start, or restart, if I can put it that way. We've reactivated a lot of our initial plans, and it's going extremely well, but we've got a lot more work to do.
So Phil, just give us an idea of how it has changed since 2015. Why is the retention rate all of a sudden so much better?
Well, President Mancinelli is quite correct when he points out that in the early days of this relationship that we were establishing, we learned that there are problems with ensuring that people, once they were hired, were able to stay. But we learned by experience, and we're now into year 8 of this relationship. We're both getting better. LiUNA, in terms of ensuring that they recruit people that are committed and are prepared to stay the course. And in our case, making sure that the people that we offer to meet these employment opportunities are people that are committed and are willing to work. And there are many, many, as you know, President Mancinelli in our community that are anxious to work. They're not happy being unemployed, and we all know that the unemployment rates in the First Nation community are just completely unacceptable. And so we are prepared to partner, as we have in the last 8 years, to ensure that there's a mobile workforce that is from the Indigenous community.
So, I mean, this seems to me to be groundbreaking and probably a pretty good example to other unions, but other companies, other organizations.
You know, experience is also the best teacher. And of course, in the very beginning, we didn't have the experience. We relied completely on, Phil and others who were teaching us, quite frankly, on how to proceed. Because, traditional training in our training centers, we go out there, we recruit people, they come in. If they learn, fantastic. If they can do the skill, they can retain a job. Kind of simple scenario. Not that simple with the Indigenous community, because quite frankly, they've heard this speech before, that if you do something, don't worry about it, everything is going to be fine. Whether it be a treaty, whether it be an agreement. And quite frankly, the level of trust has been eroded. And it took us quite some time to understand that, because quite frankly, it's not our world and it's not mine. And it was very difficult for me to understand that there was a mistrust. And so what we did was we talked, we learned with the Indigenous community. And what we learned is, let's bring an elder, someone that they trust, into our training centers. Let them be a part of the process. And in fact, that's what happened. The elders sat there and they felt comfortable, because they said, if that person, someone I trust, is here, it means that this is a good opportunity. This is something that I can actually put my faith into. So it was a learning process. And the advice that I would give other organizations, other trade unions, and others that want to come into helping replenish the workforce by going out and getting young Indigenous people into our training centers, into the workforce, into these construction sites, is that you have to establish trust. And that is a complicated thing, not only because you have to deal with elders and deal with people in their community that have to instill trust in our process, but we have to deliver as well. And you just can't run a training program and pretend that things are going to happen on their own afterwards. You have to ensure that these young people get jobs afterwards, jobs that are meaningful. And that is what is going to instill trust here, because it's the end game that's important. You know, anybody can train. There are so many different training centers. We have 14 training centers in Ontario alone. We have training centers in Edmonton, in Calgary, in Vancouver. We have the infrastructure, but that's not even half the battle. Half the battle is ensuring that the end game is important, that these young people are employed at the end of the day, and that's what starts to build the trust. And that's only the beginning of building the trust. Then it takes time in order to keep this momentum going, so that they will come possibly to our training centers one day without an elder being there. But this is, again, all about building that relationship and building trust. Time, experience, learning, and having an open mind is so important.
People forget that we're dealing with a transition of, this is recent history, where our people were largely of the land. They relied on the land to provide them, and the land doesn't provide as well as it used to. And so the transition is from living off the land, hunting, fishing, trapping, to the wage economy. Being more sensitive about the clock. That, you go to work, it's either 8, 10, 12 hours, and you have to maintain that kind of commitment so that you become a success, not just to yourself, but for your community. And it becomes, as the president said, a win-win situation. So it's been, in many cases, a good learning experience, but it's been a steep learning curve. And that's just the way it is. And our community is getting better educated. Many of our young people are going out and getting educated, and they're ready for the workforce. So what becomes an important factor is, as you pointed out, Joe, is the trust factor.
Well, clearly this plan is turning into a success, and thank you for sharing the way it has worked and the way it is going forward. And I hope it serves as an inspiration, too, to other people, other companies, other unions, to adopt the same kind of approach. And over a period of time, we'll really make progress on this. Thank you very much.